I want to thank you so much, man. I know that we have been connected for a number of years, and I've been thinking all day trying to figure out how long we've actually been connected and working together. Um, I feel like we came together through Herb, if I'm not mistaken. Is am I correct?
No, I met you before that. I met you before that. Can you hear me still? Am I coming through?
Yeah, yeah, I hear you
Okay.
perfect, man.
I'm trying to think. How did we initially connect?
I cannot
It
figure
was
it
through
out, man.
something. It was through your radio show. It was through your. I think you were the radio shows you had.
That's what it was. Tracy.
Yep. Mhm.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
was Tracy.
Mhm.
Um, I'm so sad that she's not with us.
And she passed away. Right. Right. Right.
Yeah,
Suddenly too.
yeah. I'm like, yeah, like never expected it. Never expected it
Mhm.
whatsoever. And it's
Yeah.
weird
Like.
because I've been writing a book.
Okay.
I've been writing a book actually for a few years now, and she was proofreading. Like
Okay.
she was gonna do the opening to the book.
Right.
So I spoke to her actually the day before she passed.
Oh,
Um,
did you?
and I sent her like the manuscript and all. Yeah, and I sent her the manuscript and everything. I was like, I went through the divorce, and I was like in the middle of all of that, and she was kind of, I guess, quote unquote, counseling me through like the divorce and everything. And then
Right.
I sent her the manuscript, and she was gonna proofread and all of that jazz. And then I hadn't heard from her for about 2 days, and then somebody that I had connected with through an interview as well. They reached out to me and asked me if I knew that she passed, and I'm like, I just talked to her 2 days ago. But
Right.
yeah, I hate
Right.
this. Uh,
Yeah. It was. It's so
Go
sad
ahead.
that she. It's so sad that she passed away. Cause I remember her. I think it's her daughter. What's her name? Sorry, because she
Yeah,
had a
I
podcast.
don't know her daughter's name.
The indie grind. Kenisha.
Okay.
I'll tell you who.
Oh, I didn't know
Yeah,
that was her daughter.
I think it was. I don't think people knew, but I think yeah, I think that was her mom. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. And I spoke to somebody who I believe was her daughter, and that was just kind of in passing along condolences and that sort of thing.
Hmm.
And I think just reaching out in that respect. But yeah, I didn't know that that was her daughter though, for the indie grind. But at any rate, she brought us together though.
Exactly. That's what it was. And then after that,
Okay.
you had connected with Deli.
Right.
Deli wrote. Hmm. And Deli was
Right.
so
Now,
Deli was one of my when I started consulting and kind of doing what I was doing in 2015.
uh huh.
Give me a second. What I was doing in 20 started doing I was doing in 2015.
Uh huh.
Um, Deli was one of my first kind of clients, independent
Okay.
consulting clients, and at that time, Deli was kind of just transitioning out of wanting to do gospel. I mean, she was doing gospel before that. She knew she kind of wanted to
Okay.
do R&B. She wanted to do more indie soul music, and she didn't really know me from a can of paint. Honestly, we met on social media and on Facebook, and she just kind of gave me a shot and let me and I helped her kind of establish, you know, and connect her with some of my global contacts, and she ultimately ended up getting a number one record on the UK soul charts at the time. And yeah, and I think you had interviewed her not probably not too long after that.
Okay. I remember interviewing her.
Mm.
she's probably one of the many interviews that I can say was like one of my best interviews.
Yeah,
Um,
Deli's really really talented. Um she's kind of transitioned into really the production and songwriting now.
okay.
Uh, because I don't know if she's as excited about the artistry as much anymore. I think she's really kind of
I, I
delved
think
into yeah,
it's hard to stay excited about it. Like it's
right.
and I'm just thinking from I guess I'm just trying to think from the standpoint of the artist, like given the climate of music and how everything goes and how hard you work and how little you're noticed and
Hmm.
just everything that goes into it. I think it's hard for a lot of artists to stay motivated and to to really want to continue that type of a grind. I think a lot of times they're always looking for bigger and better ways to build their brands.
excuse me, excuse me. I think I'll find a little bug right now.
Look, you sound like me, man.
Yeah, I don't know.
You
I was
sound
just
like
fine
me.
about a
I'm
day
trying to
ago.
keep.
I was just fine like a day or two
It's
ago, and
weird, man.
this cough, bro. I don't go out the house, so this cough just kind of started out of nowhere.
Yeah,
I don't know
same
what.
for me, man. It started for me on Christmas,
I don't
and
know what.
when I tell you I've been nursing it and taking Nyquil to sweat it out at nighttime,
Mm-hmm.
and I
Trying
actually
to
got a
find
cup
it
of
out.
tea right here because
Yeah,
yeah, I got this
I'm not
cup of
trying.
tea.
I'm
I'm
not.
like,
Yeah,
I don't
I'm
want to be
glad I stood
coughing
up
through
to it.
this interview, so
I did not want to. I'm like, I don't want to cancel on them. But luckily, I mean, I feel fine. I'm not like dragging or anything like that. But it's just one of those. I was like, I hope I feel up to it. But I feel good. So we're good. But yeah, man.
listen,
I
man,
mean,
I appreciate it so much. Like I
no,
don't think I
it's
can, and I don't think I can really express to you how appreciative I am of the fact that you're doing this, just because we've come so far together, and
exactly.
I know that we were like we were like at an all time high, and then once I went through the divorce, I know I kind of went topsy turvy, and I was I was like back
That
and
happens,
forth,
man.
and
That's life. Life happens, man. I mean,
yeah, but I mean it literally took me every bit of like 2 to 3 years to get back in that headspace where I'm like, okay, let's push and like get this shit done and start working again. And I just was like, I hope I didn't kill no relationships like in the process
not at
because I know
all.
I was back and forth and I'm like, okay, I'm like, I'm
Look,
ready, and then I'm like, nah.
look,
And
look,
I mean,
like,
like with Tracy, like
yeah,
she was so amazing, and I know that like there were times where she was setting up interviews for me, and like right before I was supposed to be going on, like I would be sitting there crying on the phone, like Tracy, I can't do it. Like I can't do it, Tracy, I can't do it today. And
right, right.
it was just like it was a lot of back and forth. So
Well,
like
I mean,
obviously
look,
I appreciate her. I
yeah,
appreciate you.
yeah,
Herb, like Herb
you
talked to me a little bit through the process.
yeah,
And
Herb's a good dude, man. Shout out to Herb. He's a good dude. He's doing cool. He's doing some cool things. So that's my guy. I've known Herb for 10 years now.
yeah,
So Herb's a good dude. But it comes back down to life. And we just said earlier, like about sometimes artists kind of get in that funk. And it's interesting because I was talking with Xavier Keys, the artist that I work with. And he was kind of expressing
right,
how he's really been feeling uninspired lately. And I'm like, dude, it's totally understandable. You're gonna have those. You're gonna have those days where you just feel like he doesn't want to quit. You just feel uninspired. You feel
right,
you feel like part of it has to be because you put a lot of time and energy and effort into this craft, and unfortunately, music is not something where you're going to see the fruits of the labor right away. It's not a
right,
you know what I mean. Like you're not going to see the fruits of the labor right away, and just because it's not a what's the word? It's not a. Is it bureaucracy? What's the word that I'm looking for? Um, hold on, James. Are you still hearing me?
Yeah, I got you.
Okay, because it's telling me here that my connection is unstable. I don't know what that means. This
Okay,
is my
yeah,
first
I
time
still got
using
you though. If
this platform,
yeah,
so
that's
yeah,
yeah, that's okay. It's
just want to make sure that we're still
it
good.
froze for a couple seconds. Yeah, if but I got you though.
Okay, good. Okay, and I think music is entertainment career is not like a I don't know if the word is bureaucracy. Basically, what I'm trying to say is like where the most talented people, you know, finish on top. It doesn't work that way. You know what I mean? Like everybody's path is
Right.
different. You know what I mean? And even if you have all the money in the world, it doesn't necessarily mean that it's going to happen any faster. Because this
Right.
is
Right.
like entertainment is like politics. You can have all the money to run a successful political campaign. I'm not a political guy like that, but you can have all the money to run a political campaign, but at the end of the day, if the people don't like you,
Exactly. Exactly.
and see, this is why I always try to share with creators and artists that um the the only thing that's objective about music is the technical side of it, meaning recording, mixing, mastering, uh, production quality. You know, those are objective points because there's a standard for that. When it comes to people actually wanting to, once you put your music out into the marketplace, it's completely subjective. You
Right.
know what I mean?
So
So,
what are the things that but like as a manager, like what are the things that you did, like kind of knowing like all of the details, like everything that you're telling me now,
mm,
going into it knowing that, and obviously bringing in artists who are fresh and green to the whole process and they think that they're going to blow up immediately. How were you able to keep them focused enough to the point where you could accomplish what you wanted? And I say that because I hear everything that you're saying, but the artists that you worked with, obviously that I connected with, like they did amazing. Like when you consider going overseas and
right.
building a fan base over there.
I mean, and let me say this: like, yes, I'm an artist manager, but at the same time, I'm not necessarily out here trying to manage a bunch of artists, right? So let me say that first because there's a difference. People think, oh, you have a manager company. I need a manager. I said, well, I'm not interested in managing you. You know what I mean?
Right.
So for me, I only managed artists or creatives that's like family, meaning like Xavier Keys. It's like he's like my little brother. You know what I mean? Because that's the only, in my opinion, that's the only
Yeah.
way management really works. It's like family. It's the only way it works. So first of all, it's hard once you get past 2 acts. Really, anything past 2 acts, it's really impossible to manage that successfully for one person. Just because one act can take up all your time.
I don't know how you did. I
You know
don't
what I
know
mean?
how you
So
did two acts
I really
because
like, yeah, right.
when I
Because
tell you,
go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, when I tell you I launched, as a part of UG Digital Media and Publishing, I have J Rock.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually had an artist that I was pushing for a couple years, and one artist will take all of your time.
Yep.
So I don't know how you did two, because I could barely do the one and do everything else that I was doing as well.
Well, here's the thing. Um, with Xavier Keys, how we work, we're partners. Okay, so it's not, we work differently, right? So we're not. It's not a situation where he expects me to do everything for him. Like I don't do that. I don't book studio
That's what
time.
that's what I wanted you to touch on. Not to cut you
You
off,
know,
but that's what I wanted you to touch on is that
right?
partnership,
So
because I know
we
that
work
good
different.
management
Yeah,
it requires that partnership.
right. We work differently. So he's not looking for me to, you know, do every little thing for him. It's a situation where like, okay, He brings something to the table. We vet it out together. We figure it out, and we make and he makes a decision. It's not me doing every little thing for him because at the end of the day, if I spent all my hours in the day doing stuff for him, what happens when he decides to quit and I'm left holding the bag? I got nothing. So he can go
Right.
move on with his life, but I spend all this energy and time, with the main focus being on him, and he could very well say one day, "Hey, D, bro, I love you. Thanks for everything you've done, but I really don't want to do this no more." So I can't
Right.
then set a bill for 7 years of work. You know what I mean? So what I've learned to do was build my own brand. Because if you go to Durell, well, obviously I only have my one site up because my other site is down my company site, which is cool because really, which why I don't even mind that my company site is down is because people connect to me anyway, my personal brand, even outside of my company. So, but if you look at my website, it doesn't have anything to do with artists that I manage on there. That's my brand. You know what I mean? So I've learned
Right.
to build
Right.
my brand independent of any artist that I work with. And that's what I always try to explain to any manager that wants to work with an artist is because, you know, at the end of the day, they can go and they can leave you and what do you have to show for it? If it can happen to Scooter Braun, it can happen to anybody. Ariana
Right.
Grande at one point decided that she felt like the grass was green on the other side. And Scooter Braun is one of the biggest managers in the world. So if it can happen to him, managing one of the biggest acts in the world, you don't think it can't happen to you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
because look, the problem with a lot of artists too is that most of them think the grass is greener on the other side. So usually what will happen
Oh, of
is
course.
when things are going their way, who's the first person they look to blame? Oh, it's my manager. Oh, my manager. I'm gonna get a new manager. And I'm like, oftentimes it's not really your manager. It's just that we can't predict how things are gonna go. We have an idea, but nobody knows how your career path is going to go. It's not straight. There's no straight line to success. If you're relying on a manager to do all the work for you, you're not going to be set up for success. If you're waiting on one person to open up every single door for your career, you're not going to be successful. You're just not going to because like I've had to tell this to another artist that I work with, Tori Helene, who's amazingly I don't know if I don't know if I connected you to her as well. She's actually in Ohio. She's in
You
Cincinnati.
said
Tori Helene.
you said what's her last name?
Tori Helene. Tori Helene.
I
Yeah.
think.
I might have met you. I might have
Yeah,
but you
I
got
did. I
she's
did. You did connect
yeah,
me with her.
she's in Cincinnati. That's where she lives.
Okay.
So anyway, my point is I had to tell her
Yeah,
one day,
you
I said,
did connect me with her.
right. I told her one day, I said, look, sometimes you gotta go make the play. Right? And there's no one to bring me in. Right? That's where it's different now. Like it's when you're building relationships with certain people, especially on the creative side, sometimes your manager is not needed for everything. Sometimes you as the artist got to go make the play, and no one to bring your manager into the whole fold. Right? See, that's where it's different. It's
Right.
no, we got to you got to think about it from that because sometimes because a lot of success in our industry is about relationship building. So if you're just talking to a
Definitely.
producer or trying to talk to a producer and a songwriter, what do you need your manager for? There's no business to be discussed. You know what I mean? Y'all just talking
Hmm.
creative. I don't need to be involved in that conversation. You know what I mean? I don't need to. Most managers don't even need to be in the studio session. You don't need to be there. Like I don't need to be in the session with you. Like go do what you do and send me the record when it's done.
Right.
I'm not one of those managers. I need to be hands on for every little thing. Like I'm not.
Right.
That's old days. That was the old because see back in the old industry, the goal was to go get a major record deal. So you wanted to be
Right.
the goal was to go to one of these big major labels and Hopefully, you signed a 5 album deal for $30 million, and that's why you wanted to have uh, so much control over the situation. But the truth is, in today's space, that quote unquote big break may never come. That quote unquote big break of you signing
Right.
to a major label may never, most likely, isn't going to happen. And it's simply, James, just because it's a numbers game, man. So I don't know if you know this, but there's 8 million artists across the world consider themselves independent professional artists, right? 8 million people.
Hmm.
Okay, there's less than 10,000 people, artists, are signed to either a major label or a subsidiary of a major label. There's only 5 major labels in America, so if you just do the math, it's almost impossible. It's not. Everybody can't be signed. Everybody can't be on a major
Right.
label. Everybody can't be on that. So
Right.
the reason why most people want to go to major labels is because they want the money they want the money, they want the marketing. That's really why you want the label. It's because the
Of
label back
course.
in the days was supposed to be the bank, what we call the bank. But it's really not even a bank, because if you think about a traditional loan, in a traditional bank loan, you borrow $50,000, you borrow $500,000 for the bank. Let's say you make that one back and you pay the bank. Everybody walks away, and you retain ownership of whatever it is you got the loan for, right?
Right.
Only in the beauty business would you get the loan from the major label. Let's say you recoup and pay everything back, which very rarely happens. But let's just say you do,
Hmm.
right? The label still owns your music.
Right.
That doesn't
Right.
make sense. The reason why these labels can still sign artists today is because they're making money off catalogs they've owned for 30, 40, 50, 60 plus years. And if the music business, the
Exactly.
music
Exactly.
industry has always been set up to fuck the artists.
Oh,
It's
for
always
sure.
been that. It's been always been that way. So you have to understand, like, now I will say this: some artists need labels. They just do. They don't know how to really
Oh, for
function
sure.
on
For
the
sure.
independent level. Some artists, they need that structure. They don't know how to. I had to realize that too. Even though I'm pro independent, the pro this, pro that. There's some artists that just need the structure of a label. They need the structure of it being done for them, so that they can just go make music. That being said, you pretty much already gonna know that you're gonna be screwed, because you're not gonna have a
Right.
favorable deal when you're going to the label asking them to put a take 100% of the risk, right? If that makes sense.
I think that makes perfect sense. And I'm actually glad that you talk a little bit about ownership, because obviously that's hugely important. When you're looking at signing deals, and you're looking at longevity and the money that you can obviously recoup and make over the years, to help you sustain throughout your life. Kind of talk a little bit. I'm sure that you've heard a little bit about, Ashanti has been out there like a lot now, and she talked a little bit about whatever the deal was that she's hashed, where she can kind of re-record and
Well,
that sort of thing. Like
and see,
what do you know kind of
here's
about
the
that
problem.
whole?
Here's the problem that I have with that, right? Because Ashanti would not be who she was without the record company, right? You didn't write
Hmm.
them songs. See, what these artists got to understand is, all right, you benefited heavily from the label. Um, you benefited heavily from the label helping you to build your brand, right? You knew what the deal was when you signed to the label back then. It's a different time. It was a different
Yeah,
time,
for sure.
right? So her going back to re-recording her masters now, I don't think people care that much, honestly. You know what I mean? Like, she's
Right.
dope, but let's be real, like, I mean, Ashanti ain't nobody. She's doing her thing, but like, if it wasn't for the
Right.
verses and all this, ain't nobody worried about what she got going on. in the grand scheme. I'm
Right.
not no disrespect to her. I mean, hopefully she, I don't know if she ever listens.
No, no, I get it
It's
because
like,
I
look,
guess my
what you do
my
at the time,
question in
right?
it, I mean,
Right. Go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna say, obviously when you listen to it, it sounds like it makes sense, but then the real question is once you put all of the effort and the money and the time into re-recording all of that, how many people are really going to continue buying that throughout the next,
Right.
10 years, 20 years and whatnot? Like how much are you really benefiting from
Exactly.
spending the time and the effort and the money to do all of that?
Right. Look, you gotta like. I think too. I think. All right. Take Alicia Keys. Right. I don't know if you noticed, but Alicia Keys, which this rarely ever happens, she is now officially an independent artist. She is out of her record deal that she signed
Yeah.
20 some years ago.
I saw
She
I
she has and
Yeah,
she
I
and
follow a lot of this stuff, so I did know that.
this very rarely happens where she actually fulfilled everything in her contract. So both parties can leave wholeheartedly. Now I don't know if she's taking. I don't think she's taking her masters with her, but at the end of the day, she's now an independent artist. She can do what she wants, from here on out, and that's pretty because that rarely happens. Like where you can where
Yeah.
20 years being signed to a major and you actually complete the deal and
Right.
both parties fulfill. You can walk away amicably and say, "Hey, thank you for." Because one thing we can't deny is that the major labels they have a machine, man, and that's one thing that
Yeah,
indies
for sure.
one thing independent art when you have a machine like that, it's a different game. It's a different game. It is a different game when you have corporate machines behind you. You know, like
Hmm.
there's some artists. I think Nori said it. He does not want to be independent. Nori said, "Fuck being independent. I want a label." I guess because he knows his personality. He knows how he's built. So some people know how they're built, so they want that function of a label.
Right.
Other artists are very independent, where they know how to grind. What they do, like what Tory Lanez did, is he would just see who the labels were hiring. He would just go hire them independently and do his own thing. Somebody like Russ. But
Mm.
here's the problem too, right? We don't talk about how many artists do you know that have good credit. Most of them don't. So they don't
Right.
even. Nobody talks to us about leveraging credit, your credit score, being able to attain funding to act. Because that's what it's for. You're signed to a label for the money, for the resources, not because you
Hmm.
want to sign. So if you have the ability to go get a line of credit somewhere, like Russ did. Russ said the last album he just put out, Trump 2, he took like a $500,000 line of credit out. So he said, "Look, okay, can I put the money out me personally? Yeah, I could have did that. I don't know, but he's like, look, I'd rather just take the credit out and just pay back $1,000 a month for the rest of my life. I can do that." He's like, look, so why? If you think about it, how do most wealthy people do it? They use the bank's money. Most people, when it comes,
Hmm.
they don't ever use their money. They use other people's money. So, but again,
Hmm.
I think it comes back down to the education of not understanding like how to leverage credit. Because you know how it is in our community
Right.
too. Um, bro, we're not talking. We don't. We it's not discussed so much about making sure you keep your credit right and keep your credit at a certain
Right.
level so that you can. And it's something within the black community. It's just not talked about. And I've always been saying, even in high schools, that there's no reason why you should graduate high school as a junior or senior and they don't have a class on personal finance. Why is that?
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like, because every human being at some point or the other has to deal with this stuff. But you graduate these people, give them high school diplomas, but you're not even teaching them the things they need to know about life. You care more about. I know we're on a tangent here, but
Exactly.
you care more about an SAT score, ACT score, standardized test than you do about making sure people are prepared for life, things of that nature. Anyway, my point is going back to what I was saying is that when you understand how to take those other pieces and use leverage, Now you don't necessarily need to go take a bad deal or take a bad situation because you can go to the bank and get a small business loan or whatever you want to get. And now you got the funding to move how you want to move. So it's all about the mentality. It's all about the mentality that people have and how you view yourself. You know, but with Ashanti, we want to re-record your masters. Like, okay, how much money are you? Because the real money is placing your music in television and film and sync. Because
Right, right,
you know, so where's the real like the real money's in the publishing side. So as far as her recording her masters on the streaming side, how much money is she really wanting to make? Because she ain't on Drake level. She ain't getting billions and billions of streams.
right,
It ain't happening. You know what I mean? So I mean, she gets. I'm sure she
right,
gets. I'm sure she gets. I'm sure she's in the millions of streams, but she ain't on. She ain't on that Drake level with billions and billions of streams. That's the only way. Because that's the only way you're
right,
making real
right.
money anyway. Streaming is when you're in the
Hmm.
billions of streams, because that way it makes sense. You know what I mean? So
Yeah, I think that makes perfect sense. So I was I want to talk a little bit about how you've transitioned your company current day. But I know that we kind of got off into this conversation and we didn't
yeah,
really start with the basics. So for the
it's
people
cool.
who are listening, give them an idea, like a kind of, obviously a quick, but give them an idea of who you are, how you got into this, and how you got to this, this place where you are right now.
Okay, cool, no problem. So I bet. So I was. So for me, I live in Orlando, Florida, and so around 2004, I was a part of a hip hop dance group here. So um, every November they have. I'm giving you the quick version because it could be a real long. I don't want to draw it out. We'd be here. We'd be here. To try to give it. So every November they have what they call the Florida Classic. That's Bethune Cookman University and Florida A&M University. Have you heard of that before? The Florida Classic.
Yeah, I have. I have.
Yeah. So that game's usually on a Saturday. And that's when all the black people come out, the black colleges, everything. So that Friday night before the game, they have the black high schools have the battle of the bands, right? So all the black high schools locally,
Right.
we all. So anyway, so our dance crew was booked to perform at one of the intermissions. So my best friend at the time had a roommate. His name is Ian, and Ian was a real talented dude, and he would take me to the dance practices. So they decided to create a routine. At the end of the routine, they had a freestyle session. And so they brought me out at the end of the freestyle session and I was dancing, right? And so
Okay.
right. And so it was like 18,000 people in the old Magic Arena where the Magic play. And they brought me out. Everybody screaming. They all said, "This is awesome. This is." Because back then, I did not have any. I did not think I was going to be in entertainment. I didn't grow up wanting to be in entertainment. Was something I thought of. I thought I was going to go into hospitality tourism. I thought that's what I was going to do. But that's what I went to high school
Okay.
for. But I always say entertainment found me. I didn't find it.
Right.
um, so yeah, so we did that little competition. We did that little gig, and I knew that okay, I knew that I was really interested in seeing what more about this entertainment thing. And I was fortunate enough to meet my mentor and big brother LaShawn, who pretty much took me under his wing and kind of taught me the game. And that was in 2005. And we ran my first company was called Brothers for Life Music Group. And him and I did that for a couple
Okay.
of years from 2005 to 2008. Then he moved to Raleigh, North Carolina. And at the time, I was managing an artist named D. Cody, who's an R&B soul act out here in Orlando. So I'm working with him. So Cody and I released the album called Us Against the World in 2010. Put it out on CD Baby at the time. This is pre social media. This is pre. There's no
Right.
Instagram. There's no what it is now, right? So there's Facebook, but there's Twitter, but there's. So him and I, we released that project. We sold a few copies overseas, things like that, but really nothing really much happened out of that. And I was disappointed because it's like, dude, like the guy was so talented, and we just had to come to Jesus moment where it's like, bro, this isn't gonna work. Like, because I feel like I'm having to drag you across the finish line, and I don't want to be working with people. I don't want. I just don't think it was working. So at that time, so we parted ways. Um, December of 2012, right? And then that's when I decided to finish my degree and go to enroll at Full Sail University, where I
Okay.
got my degree in entertainment business. I was valedictorian of my class, advanced achiever of my class. Won numerous awards there, and so when I graduated, I knew that it was going to be really hard for me to move and live in like LA because really there's only five cities that's considered industry, right? LA, Nashville, Atlanta, Miami, New York, right? So LA was going to be out because I was just way too far, so that was out. You know, Nashville, I've been to Nashville, but it snows in Nashville. I don't do the snow, so that was out. You know, Atlanta, I love Atlanta. Atlanta's like my second home, but Atlanta's really, really spread out. I'm sure you know, Atlanta is nobody lives in the city of Atlanta. Most people live on the outskirts of
Yeah,
Atlanta.
I know.
Right. And then you have Miami. I'm like, okay, I live in Orlando. I'm not gonna move to Miami. And then New York. I was born in New York. We left New York for a reason. So it really just made sense for me to kind of stay here in Orlando because it just made sense. So what that meant was there really wasn't any jobs here. So I knew that I was gonna have to just kind of do my own thing. Otherwise, I would have been like everybody else,
Right.
went to school, got a degree at Full Sail, and I'm doing something totally different. Like that's a waste of goddamn time. Why the hell did I go to school for all this
Right.
time? And like most people do, most people are working in fields that they didn't even go to school for. They're doing stuff that you know.
Exactly. And I love the fact that you said do your own thing because I mean essentially that's what I've done just in terms of UGD and like everything that I've done. I've
Yeah,
just kind of done my own thing instead of trying to go and
right,
work for like a big conglomerate or
right,
something like
right,
that because you just have more freedom, more power,
right.
and it's so
And
much
see,
more that you can accomplish when you're doing your own thing.
and when you started UGD, this wasn't. See, we didn't have the content creation that we have now. You know what I mean? Like, so now we have a lot more people. For instance, like, okay, let's say you want to work in journalism, right? Let's say you wanted to work in sports journalism. There was really only going to be there was ESPN. The mecca was ESPN, so everybody will go to ESPN, right? And now we have
Right.
FS1, right? So, but truth is, everybody can't get to ESPN. Everybody's not going,
Exactly.
so, but because of the internet now, you're able to now kind of create your own community if you just stay consistent
Hmm.
on a platform like YouTube,
Right.
as we see now. So so now you can create a media career without feeling like you have to go to journalism school, right? Or
Right.
go to some of these bigger networks. In your case, going to the BETs or you know
Right. Exactly.
writing for Vibe or. I remember you were sharing that story. I don't forgot what publication it was. Was it BET the BET Awards one year? Remember we talked about it. Well, what was it that you got
Yeah.
invited to go do?
Yeah.
Right, and something happened with that
Well,
whole
I've
situation.
done. Well, I mean, I've done the BET award. I've done the BET awards. Soul Train, Essence, the Stellars, the Grammys.
Mhm.
So I know that we have talked about me, obviously doing that, having that experience and whatnot, and always wanting to do it. I just think that in doing it, like, obviously being grateful for having the opportunity to
Of
go
course,
out and meet those people, build those relationships and whatnot.
Of course.
I just have always found it more pleasing to kind of do my own thing
Yeah.
and not be in a position where I can be told what to do or
What to
what
write
I
about.
can't do or
Right.
that's or what to write about. Because
Right.
I mean, you know that my platforms have always been like more
Positive.
positive driven, and I
Right. You're not
want
really
to
drunk.
focus on all the
You're not
shit
with
that's going on.
TMZ and the drama stuff, and
I
and the
Yeah,
whole shade
I can't.
room, and
Yeah,
yeah.
I can't do that. Like that's just it's not me. And I'm like, I don't really care about that kind of stuff. So I know that there's an audience who don't really care about that stuff and they want like the realness of it and whatnot. So
Yeah. You've interviewed.
I that's just not me. And I feel like when you work for those bigger names and those bigger brands, they push you in that direction because they know that that's what sells.
Yeah. Right. And I know, and even with UGD, you've interviewed some well known people. So, and I think that you can also
Yeah.
say about your brand is that people respect you because you've interviewed names that people know. You know what I mean? So,
Right.
and trust me, those celebrities want a breath of fresh air too. They don't want to be asked the salacious questions and they want to be asked
Yeah.
some substance. So I'm sure they actually enjoy people that actually care about their craft and care about why they, because of course people are gonna want to know about the gossip and all stuff like that. But you've always been a journalist and a media professional that cares about getting the real story out there. And I think there's something to be said about
Yeah.
that,
That's
especially
all I want to do.
especially
Like
in
that
black media.
that's where my heart has
Yeah,
Yeah, that's where my heart has been. And I just have always wanted to be that difference in black media. But I mean,
right.
obviously, you know that kind of going in that direction, it
Yeah.
makes it a lot more difficult, obviously to be seen and, that sort of thing. But I mean, I love what I'm doing though.
No, you're doing great things, and like I said, you got look the grind. The grind is real. The grind is real, and you just got to keep moving. You got to keep moving. You got to keep doing what you're doing,
Yeah,
and that's why I always say your passion, your why can't be money. It can never be money because if it's money, you'll quit when shit gets hard. You know what I mean? So your
exactly.
why's got to be bigger than money, and that's why I try to tell people like when I'm helping independent art. The truth is, when you help independent artists, ain't no money in helping brand new artists. They got no money. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like, you know what I mean? So, that. But I do this because I feel that helping new artists is where I can make the biggest impact. That way. So that's why I choose to work with independent artists. That's just me personally.
right. Now talk to me. I know we're like in the last 10 to 12 minutes of,
Okay.
the time that we have, for today's show, but talk to me
Right.
about the current place and then the future of double N management.
Oh man. Well, the current place is so. I'm really big on so a lot of what I do is consulting work, artist development, brand development. So I'm really big on education, and I've kind of stayed away from doing a course, you know, but I feel like I'm driven more that way now. So I'm working on a course right now, uh, and also too I've been working on a couple of books that, and this is more stuff towards my personal brand because my company's my company, but like I said before earlier in the show, people connect to my personal brand, so that's what I lead with, right? So I'm working on a couple of books as well too that really should have been out already, but I put it off for so long. But I made it a point to tell myself
I'm in that same place, man.
they're going. One of them is so the process of my so when I talk about building, you always hear me talk about building a core audience, right? So the process of how I view that is called the genesis of superfan building. So because everything with independent artists should be centered around building superfans, right? Fans that are diehard fans that care about you, right? Um, so yeah, um, so So that's why I called it the genesis of superfan building. So with that, I have a whole process that I teach when I'm consulting my clients. But I also started a book, which is kind of like the guide to that, which is more of a long form, my thought process in long form, right? Versus it being on an hour session, because there's only so much you can get on an hour consulting session, right? Or if you're taking what will be my course at some point soon. But I can really take the reader, the independent creative, behind my thought process and why I believe that this works. Because there's so many people on social media, these marketers that just teach people, oh, just run a bunch of ads and you'll build a fan base. It doesn't work like that.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you have to have a foundation. So I believe in setting the foundation in place first. Because to me, you do the ads when you're ready to scale out. Majority of artists, I feel, aren't ready to scale. They try to scale way too early instead of focusing on the things
Hmm.
that so they can build foundation. So that's one of the books I'm working on, and the other one is book is really about why I decided to pursue a career in entertainment because me having a disability, we didn't really touch on that too much. Is there's really not a lot of people out here like me that have a special need that is doing what I'm doing. There's really nobody that I can point to saying they have cerebral palsy. They're doing what I'm doing. I can model my not necessarily copy what they did, but you could have a kind of this person did it their way. At least you have somebody to kind of mentor you from afar. Be like, hey, like they did it like this. Maybe you could do something similar type of thing. But there really isn't anybody out there like me doing what I'm doing. So I kind of wanted to share with some people kind of my thought process and why I love entertainment so much. So that's the other book that I'm working on.
Right.
In the meantime, just
Okay. I think that's amazing.
go ahead.
I really will want to read. I really will want to read that book. As far as why you wanted to get in the entertainment industry. Like, I think that everything that you've done is amazing, and like I purposely, obviously doing this podcast, I purposely did not touch on the disability just because
Right,
I look beyond all of that shit.
exactly, and I
I
appreciate
look
that.
way
Right,
beyond all of that shit, and
right,
I just I don't think that any of that is. I don't feel like it's relevant. Like, obviously it's important because this is your life,
right,
but on the same token, I think that a lot of people focus on the stuff that really makes no difference. I mean, I
exactly.
have a great friend because I worked with Radio One here in Cleveland. Well, they're Urban One or whatever it is now, but
Okay,
I worked with them, and I have a really really good friend on radio who has MS. And
okay,
like, to me, you look past all of that shit because to me that
right,
doesn't affect the beautiful and the quality work that you do in this industry, and you've helped some
right.
people, man. Like,
Yeah,
I damn near have wanted you to be my manager, and I don't do no damn music. So I'm just saying,
well, and
I just
I'll
think
say
that
it
you
like
do
this.
some.
Yeah, I'll say it like this. Look, man. I mean,
I think you do some amazing work, man, and that was the very reason why, with me doing this podcast, you are the first person that I reached out to actually be on this platform with me, because I just think that, obviously I've come a long way, but I think that you've come this way with me. And I think that
right,
out of all of the many people that I have built relationships with over the years and that I've worked with, you were somebody, and I'm pointing, and I shouldn't be pointing because obviously I'm pointing to a computer screen, but I'm just
right.
saying, like, you are you're like one of those top people that stuck with me, like, through
Of
all of
course.
this shit that was going on. And I mean, obviously that's life, and that's stuff that's gonna happen. But
Yeah,
people drop like flies when life start happening.
yeah, they
And
do.
obviously with
Right.
me not doing the media and stuff over that time, it's like starting over, man. Like,
Yeah,
managers and publicists and all of that stuff changed like a roll of toilet paper. So it's
exactly.
like when I got back into this, it's like, don't nobody know me, and I damn
Right.
near don't know them. So it makes it difficult even in booking people and stuff like that. I'm just now getting to that place where when I reach out to people, like they actually respond back now and either say yes or no.
Right.
Like for a minute, it was like they wouldn't even respond. So I'm like, it's a grind, man. Like you said, the grind is real, and it don't never stop. But I hustle real hard, man, and regardless of what I knew coming into this and what my work ethic was coming into this, I have learned like a tremendous amount from you, and from a lot of people, but definitely from you. So that's why I wanted you to be my first guest. I think I just was blessed in the sense that I asked and you was like, yeah, I got you. Because
Of
I'm like,
course,
damn, if she
anytime.
say no, I don't have nobody
Anytime.
yet.
No. I would never gonna say no because one, you know, we have a relationship, and this industry is built on relationships. It really is. Like
Right.
you got at the premise, at the core of entertainment is people in relationships. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. Like relationships will take you a long way in this game. It's like what the Brian Michael Cox, producer, said this in an interview one time. He said, "Look, be careful how you treat people on the way coming up, or you hot like fish grease, because when you're not as hot no more, and people
Mm-hmm.
remember, man, he's an asshole. That guy James Johnson, oh, he's an asshole. When he called, I'm not picking this on. He's a fuck him. You know what I mean? Because that's how motherfuckers think
Right.
in this business. Like
Right.
you can't
Yeah.
even when you hot like fish grease, you can't treat people like they ain't shit because at some point, James, you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay, yeah. At some point, when the phone ain't ringing and the opportunity, because it will happen. It happens to everybody. They're going to remember how
Yeah,
you
it's
treated them.
man, it's in this industry from my side of it, that happens a lot, man. It goes up and down, up and down. So it's like I'll
Yeah,
have months where it's like everybody I reach out to, like they responding back and they'll start calling me and shit. And then it's like I'll get like 3 or 4 months where ain't nothing going on. And it's like,
right.
damn, I can't find nobody.
And that's the nature of how this thing works, man. Like there's a
Right.
term in our industry called "hurry up and wait." Hurry. You
Yeah.
can have you got to have
Yeah.
hurry up and wait, man. All your ducks in a row, but you still got to wait because the industry. See, and let me share this before we get out of here. There's a difference between. Let me share this gem real quick for your listeners. There's a difference between the music industry, the music business, and the business of music. It's three different things, right? The music
Hmm.
industry is tastemakers, record labels, DJs, publicists, you know, tastemakers, people that make up the industry, right? The music business is commerce, that's sales, right? And then the business of music is intellectual property, publishing, copyrights, that type of deal. Most people think you need the music industry to be successful in the music business, and you don't. There's people right now who, if I told you who they were, you wouldn't know who the hell they are, but they make a full time income from music. You know what I mean? So you don't need to have, you don't need to be, you don't need the industry. Because here's the problem when you chase the industry. The industry is going to tell you whether you belong based off what they think is hot. But what if your audience isn't what they're trying to be about? Maybe you do something that's really not commercially driven. So of course they're not going to know what to do with it because it's not. They're in the business of selling commercial music, right? If you make something that's not commercial, he probably doesn't know what to do with what it is that you're doing. So that's why I always say it's important to just to find your own audience. The goal for any independent artist listening to the goal is really simple: find your audience and learn and know how to serve them. That's really it. Find your audience, serve them over and over and over again. That should be the goal.
Um, will there be a way for us to access all of the artists that you do work with, and then for everybody watching, just let them know how they can keep up with you, how they can find out more information about you and your brand?
Right. Oh yeah. So yeah, the artists I work with is Xavier. Two artists. Well, it's really three. Xavier Keys out of Chicago, and you can go to His website is imkeys.com, Keyz, imkeys.com. The other artist is her name is Chatty Boom, CHADDYBOM, chattyboom.com. You go to her website, chattyboom.com, and then Tor Helene, like I told you about, she's doing amazing things. And if you want to connect with me, you could just hit me on my website, DurellPeart.com. Follow me on all social media at Durell Peart. That's how you connect with me, man.
Hey, listen, I probably will because I've connected with Keys before, so I definitely will want to reconnect with him. I've
For
connected
sure.
with Tori Helene before, so I know I want to do something again with her. And then I'm gonna check out Chatty Boom too,
Exactly.
to see what's going on, and maybe we can do things because of course I still have of course I'm doing the entertainment plug, and I still got the magazine, which actually the magazine I'm pushing out subscriptions now. So
Okay, nice.
eventually I'm gonna lock the site down, and then people will have to subscribe, to get like the full content and all of that stuff. But
Okay.
I think that there's a big future. There's a lot of stuff going on that I definitely will want to involve you with. But more than anything, man, I want to thank you for this opportunity. Like this is huge for me to get this off the ground because I've been wanting to do it for years and kind of putting it off and wondering who I want to work with and that sort of thing. And about 3 weeks ago, to keep it all the way real with you, I was just like, man, I need to just do this shit myself and quit playing games.
Right.
And before I knew it, I pretty much had everything set up. Like it took me a day to get it on all of the platforms and all that. So I'm like, shit, like
Yeah.
it's really meant to be.
Yeah, man.
But
Let's make it happen.
I appreciate you, man. I appreciate you so much. I think this is amazing.
Hey, James, man. Thank you so much, man. It's a pleasure to be here.
All right, man. You have a good evening, man, and we're gonna definitely do this again, and we'll talk over the coming days. I think I'm getting like Oprah, man. I'm gonna do it after the show. So
Okay. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Let's do it.
so I think this is dope. But thank you so much, man.
Man, it's a pleasure, man. You have a good night. All right.
You too, man.